I got a drink that I made entirely too strong, so after this is done, I'm gonna crash. So
Attaboy.
I'm gonna be on the game show Dynasty Game Night next week with John Bosch, and
Oh, nice. That's cool, man.
last time I went on, I got smoked, man. It was rough. Like I actually won the second game, but the first one, it was like Marvel superheroes as the name game, and I couldn't get any of them. Like I struggle with those ones, man. Like they tell me like AFC South running back, and I'm like, what teams are in the AFC South? I have to like think about it, you know. Last time I even printed out a little cheat sheet of just the divisions so I could remember the teams. I'm like, I know them when I'm not under pressure, but you know, like when you're under pressure, you're like, shit, what teams in the NFC even? You know, you're like trying to go through them. You're like, So I'm hoping I do all right, at least not embarrass us. And I'm playing with Bobby Koch and House.
Oh, nice.
Should be a good time.
No drinks for me, but I'm crashing after this too, man. I got up at 3:30 this morning, went to the gym at 4:15, and I'm tired. It's a long day.
Yeah, we all got the trick-or-treating thing tomorrow night, right?
Yeah. I'm just happy I got out of carving pumpkins. Nobody wanted to carve pumpkins over here this year. So okay.
Darn.
Yeah, I'm not gonna keep lying. Yeah.
Yeah, because we always end up doing them. That's the problem. They're like, let's all carve pumpkins, and Dad ends up doing all the damn pumpkins. So, yeah.
You're 100% right.
Guts out. All right, let me see. We are live, I think. All right, we are live. Okay, you want to get your Audacity up, Matt? Or
Yep, I'm good.
All right, you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, 1, 2, 3, go.
Test. I'm good.
Test.
I'm delayed. You know how that goes. But
Yeah. Oh,
there
yeah.
we go. Check. All right.
Might check 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, let's go ahead and go live, guys. I'm ready to get this thing rolling here. Yeah, I didn't have a lot of talking points or anything this week, so I thought the Halloween thing was kind of fun, though. I was trying to get more monsters. It's something silly. So, all right, guys, I'd like to welcome everybody into Devy Happy Hour. This is our episode number 28. We are your source for Devy knowledge as it pertains in the fantasy football landscape. This week, I get the chance to talk to my wonderful co-hosts on This is Devil's Night, but I think we're going to try to stay out of trouble because we all got kids and all that. But my first co-host is Mr. Deltron, Matt Griffith. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great, man. Ready to get into some Halloween talk and get into the Devy talk as usual. So, highlight of the week for me.
Oh, yeah. All right, my other co-host, you know him as the Mr. DDP, the host of the Destination Devy podcast, dropped 2 amazing episodes this week. So make sure you guys check those out. Mr. Ray Garvin, Ray GQ, how you doing, man?
I'm doing real well. The Astros are up 1-0. It's the top of the 5th inning, so hopefully the great state of Texas and H-Town, my second home, can bring home a World Series tonight. I'm a fair weather fan. I only watch during the playoffs, and in particular, Game 7 of World Series. So there I go, baby.
I understand you, man. I love baseball. It was my first love, but it is so hard to watch like 162 game season. Like I'll catch a random inning here and there, and that's about it until the playoffs. But so, all right, got not a whole lot of news and notes this week, but kind of a big thing of news that was kind of the state of California started it, and now the whole NCAA is introducing the ability for athletes to profit off their names and likenesses. And what that means is we're finally going to have an NCAA football game, baby. So that's basically all it means, man. I'm so excited. I actually looked for the NCAA. Go ahead.
No. Finish your thought, man.
No, I looked at the NCAA football 2014 today on Amazon. It was $140 for a 360 copy of NCAA 14. I'm like, dude, I remember like 3 years ago when you get that for like $2 in the bargain bin at your freaking local store. So it's crazy, man. The need is there. The want is there. So I think it's going to be it has to happen, man. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I was just gonna throw out, man. I love the sunshine out here, but our state's not known for its decision making. So I'm glad that we were able to kick this one off and get hopefully get NCAA football back.
Right. And I've seen some people on Twitter kind of take offense with this, and you got to understand that this money is not coming from the schools. It's just allowing them to make money off their likenesses, like from sponsors and video games and things like that. So it's not coming from school. I've seen some people get really pissed off about this, but it's not coming from the school. These schools are still making a ton of money off these kids. This is coming from their ability to market themselves is all it is. So just I'm sure all of our listeners know that. We have good listeners that love college football, but I've seen way too many arguments on Twitter over it. And it's like, come on, man. It's just ridiculous.
And that's what's ridiculous to me is because I don't think anybody knows what this really means yet. Like I get the general, the general sense of, yeah, they can make money and profit off of their name and likeness, but how it actually is implemented, what that actually means, how it's actually laid out. I think I read in the paper today that it won't be until 2021 before it starts actually taking effect. So I still think there are nuances to work out of how this is actually going to influence student athletes in what ways. So I just think it's a little premature. I think it's a great first step that this is happening. I actually wrote my thesis on this in graduate school. Are NCAA athletes are they athletes or employees of the university? So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Interesting from a multitude of levels, but I think it's so early in the process. Nobody knows how the hell this is going to play out or how it's going to work. So while I'm excited, I'm still waiting to see the details on how this is actually going to be implemented.
Right. Very good point, man. Very good point. All right, we're going to quickly go over week 9. I don't know if you guys had any, like my biggest takeaway. I wrote in here, I was going to rant on Chase Young, and I'm just what he does and what he like in one of the biggest games of his career was crazy. I think he ended up with 4 sacks, and he just absolutely destroyed Wisconsin single-handedly. And if he's not in the Heisman discussion, there's something clearly wrong with all this. Like it's like it's supposed to be awarded to the most important, the best player in college football. And is not the best quarterback, not the best running back. And I've thought it all year that he's the best player in college football. So and he has a game like this where all of a sudden everybody takes notice. He should have been there already. I mean, he's up to, I think, 14 sacks now with 4 games left or 5 games left, I think. So he's got a chance to, break the 20 barrier, which hasn't been broken in quite a while. And just what he's doing is just absolutely amazing. And it's just, he's a fun guy to watch. And those are just the sacks that count, the things that he does and the effect that he makes on that whole defense. And then the way the offense plays, Ohio State's loaded, but it doesn't matter. He makes that much of a difference, even on a loaded team. So I just think, do you guys think he's got a realistic shot at the Heisman or like Ray? Be honest.
I don't. If when I look at some of the dominant defenders over the past, let's just say 15 years, I thought Ndamukong Suh was well deserving of the Heisman his year at Nebraska. In that game versus Texas, a defensive tackle literally almost wrecked. I mean, he did wreck that game, but he almost single-handedly defeated Texas on his way to a national championship that year. I think he had 4 or 5 sacks in that game versus Cole. I mean, I've never seen something like that happen on that stage from an interior defensive lineman. He didn't win it. I thought Tyrann Mathieu, during his time at LSU would be one of those guys would have a shot. Should he be invited? Absolutely. And he may be invited like Ndamukong Suh was, but the Heisman Trophy goes to the best quarterback on the best team. That's historically how it goes, unless you've got a running back that just goes ridiculous or there was nobody deserving of it, like the year Mark Ingram won the Heisman Trophy with I don't know how many yards he had, 1,400 rushing yards, something like that, and wins the Heisman Trophy. So realistically, I don't think Chase Young will win it. I don't even think he'll finish in the top 2 or 3. Not saying that he isn't deserving of it, but he'll clean up all the defensive awards, the Bednarik, all those defensive linemen. He may win the Maxwell Trophy for the best player, but he's not winning the Heisman.
What's that meme? The boo this man. Boo this man.
I could almost just echo what Ray said. I mean, I'm a defensive player at heart. I like fantasy football, so I like offensive side. But I was maybe Ndamukong Suh's biggest fan for that Heisman run, and especially in that game you was talking about. I wanted to see him like maybe even get that man some first place votes. Like, can we get one? I mean, it's been since what, Charles Woodson, or is that the last one?
Mm-hmm.
It's the only one, isn't it?
No, I mean, going back in time, when we go back into the 70s, 60s, there was more defensive players, I believe. But, because they're playing both ways. It's kind of a different story, I guess. And then can we take a second to talk about how nasty it was that last year we got to watch Nick Bosa and Chase Young on the same football field, on the same team, chasing the same quarterbacks? Like, that's just silly.
So I just looked it up. So that game versus Texas, Sue had 12 total tackles, 6 for a loss, 4.5 sacks in that game.
Unreal.
I mean, yeah. And on the season, for an interior defensive tackle, he had 12 sacks, 20.5 tackles for a loss, 85 total tackles, and an interception.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think Chase Young has a. I mean, Gessie has a shot to win it, but I just don't think he will.
It's crazy to see the list of these other guys that were there that year, Sue, with Toby Gerhart and CJ Spiller and Kellen Moore, who's a coach now. Is that the right Kellen Moore? No, it isn't, is it? It can't be. It is? Dang.
Well, Dwight, I had a takeaway since we're talking about defensive guys. Chase Young, the best defensive player in college football and probably the best overall player. I think the second best defensive player in college football, and playing defense like Matt, I just enjoy watching it, is LSU's corner, Derek Stingley Jr. That kid is so freaking good. I mean, on the season, he's got 22 tackles, 4 interceptions, 10 passes defensed, and he returns punts. And playing against Big Seth Williams against Auburn, man, he shut him down. I mean, Williams had, I think, 4 for 65 and 1, but Stingley was all over him. Like, that kid, Grant Delpit, Stingley's the best defensive player on LSU's team, and it's not even close, in my opinion. I mean, he is a shutdown corner right now as a true freshman. If you haven't watched that kid play versus Alabama, I can't wait to watch him versus Judy, Smith, and Ruggs. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, he's just going to get better too, which is scary. Like, yeah, he's already really close up there, and yeah, it's a fun thing, man. Probably the biggest news of last week though was probably Oklahoma losing, because I think everybody had penciled them in as having a shot at the playoff. And I was really looking forward to that. The Jalen Hurts versus Alabama. Having that in the playoffs. I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot with this terrible game. It wasn't not terrible. And if you look at the game, it was Jalen Hurts, and that's it. I mean, Hurts still had nearly 500 total yards, which is absolutely insane. And then they still lose. So that was actually a really fun game. I tuned in and watched the last, when Kansas State got up, what was it, 41-28 or something, and I turned it on and then watched it was something like that. Oklahoma almost come back. So I don't know. Do you guys think this? There's kind of what I meant by the Jalen Hurts question is, what do you guys think of him as an NFL prospect? I kind of go back and forth. A lot of people thought he would have to change positions, but I think he's definitely proven that he can do it now, especially with the emergence of quarterbacks like, Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson. And so I don't know, I'm kind of mixed, but then there's also this, you come out of this system in Oklahoma that has just produced 2 quarterbacks that did crazy, insane things too. So is it the system? How good is Jalen Hurts? Do you think he's guys? Ray, I'm curious. I'll go with you first. What do you think he's going to do in the NFL, man?
I'm a big fan of Jalen Hurts. I'm a big fan, and I think that he's one of those guys where I don't believe that you would even want him to come in day one and be your starter. I think he'll compete and show well, but I think he's a guy that you'd want to sit behind a veteran quarterback for at least a year. In an ideal world, you let him sit for a year. But when I look at the NFL game today, honestly, if we go down the list of all the quarterbacks who just sit back in the pocket and dissect defenses, how many of those guys are there? Legitimately, maybe 6 that can just sit back there. They don't run, and they can just shred you from the pocket. Other than that, a lot of these guys are are one read. You look at someone like Jared Goff. Goff isn't sitting back there dissecting defenses. I mean, he's got a great system with a great offensive mind. And if the reads aren't there, now what can he do? He's a sitting duck because he can't move in the pocket. If if Mitchell Trubisky and Sam Darnold and Kyler Murray and these other and Teddy Bridgewater and quarterbacks like this can be effective at the next level, I don't see why Jalen Hurts shouldn't have a shot to do it. And I think he can succeed. And more so than anything, the ability to move when things break down is invaluable. That is an invaluable skill, not just for fantasy football, but for the NFL as well. Do you think those coaches really give a crap that sometimes Lamar Jackson might that he's rushing for 160 yards a game when they're winning? They don't care, man. Like however we can get it done to win games and cause stress on defensive coordinators, let's do it. And Hurts has the body size. He's got the requisite arm talent. I'm not saying he's as efficient a thrower as Kyler or Baker Mayfield, but he can move in the pocket. And Kyler Murray is tiny, man. That dude, he's not breaking tackles. If someone blows on him, he's falling over. So you give me the 6'1", 220-pound guy that maybe isn't as fast as Kyler Murray, but he's built better. You get him in a good system with a creative mind. I think he can be successful at the next level.
Right. Matt, do you think here's another question though? Like, do you think he can throw the ball better than Lamar Jackson? Because if Lamar Jackson has any deterrence, it's that. What do you think, Matt?
Well, and I'm not diving into quarterback evaluation like that, but if he's not better, he's as good as at minimum throwing the football, right? Lamar's not a prolific passer of the ball. He's more known for his athleticism. He's a good passer. But there's a lot of NFL quarterbacks that are just good passers. You know what I mean? They're not terrific. I mean, we're not talking everyone just dropping dimes, back shoulder fades, this and that. Not everybody can do that. So even if that's just not his strongest suit, he brings other elements to it. His elusiveness, his strength, all these other things. Quarterbacks are just so valuable. If you got one, you're good. If you don't, you're looking for somebody like Jalen Hurts to snag up. And if you can get him, who knows where he's going to go, right? It could be anywhere from middle of first to end of day 2. We don't know what that's going to look like, but he will end up on an NFL team. He will probably end up getting a shot at some point in time. He can end up like on the Chicago Bears in the second, third round or something like that, and then be a starting relevant quarterback in NFL and then in your fantasy lineups come next year. Who knows, man? Quarterback's just too valuable. He brings too many different skill sets to the table. I remember coming on with you and Andrew, Dwight, my very first time guesting on this pod, and we were talking. I think I asked you this exact question: what is Jalen Hurts going to look like? Because if Trace McSorley is getting drafted in the 6th round in a position like that, you're telling me that the Ravens aren't going to go in 3rd round, 4th round, go lock up Lamar's backup, go, something like that. That makes way too much sense. If I'm the GM, I'm penciling that. I'm looking at that on the draft board. So I don't know, man. You see guys getting shots left and right all over the league, and you go, wait, who is this, and where did he come from, and this and that. And if you're telling me Kyle Allen is the next, Panthers quarterback, well, give me Jalen Hurts then. I'll roll with that if I'm the GM over there.
Right. I like it. I just hope he ends up somewhere that will optimize his skill sets, because I feel like, for as much flack as Mariota has taken, I think he got put into a bad situation where he wasn't allowed to, really flaunt what he had. And I hope that he just ends up on a team that's willing to let him be himself. When the Ravens took Lamar Jackson, I thought, no way in hell Jim Harbaugh is going to let him be the type of quarterback that he needs to be. And he has. And it's surprised the hell out of me. So I just hope he gets in a good situation, basically. So
Lamar Jackson, not Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts reminds me of Dak Prescott coming out of Mississippi State. That's who he really – and I remember it like yesterday. Nobody there – even people now, he's not a good quarterback. He's just an average quarterback. In fantasy, Dak hadn't been under a top 12 quarterback since he stepped on the field as a starter. He reminds me of Dak Prescott coming out of Mississippi State. And for all the praise and accolades we bestow upon Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts' stats up to this point, when you look at the games played, they're better than Baker's and they're better than Kyler Murray's. And I'd argue that those two quarterbacks had a better supporting cast around them than Jalen Hurts. Again, I'm not saying that his arm talent is, better than those guys, but people think Jalen Hurts was no freaking bum at Alabama. Like anybody who thinks that he was bad at Alabama, they have no clue what they're talking about. He was not asked to throw the ball. He was asked to run the ball, take care of it, and hand it off to those running backs, and that's what he did. But he is no bum. I really, if I can snag that dude up in super flex drafts in the second round, or if he starts slipping late second in the third, I'm snatching him up. But I think he's going to go a hell of a lot higher than we think right now because I would take Jalen Hurts over freaking Ryan Finley or Brandon Allen, who's starting for the Broncos. Are you kidding? Like, come on, man. Like, just stop. Stop. That's just ridiculous. He's an NFL quarterback, and I think he'll have a shot, and we'll see what he does at that point in time.
I think, too, you got to
go ahead.
Just to add, like, his intangibles, right? I mean, we talk about the athleticism, the physical traits. He's a true leader. He is poised. He's respectful. He's a student. He's all those things that you want on your team if you're an NFL organization, a GM, whatever else. He brings so much more to the table than just being a quarterback, too, which I really like. And, I mean, fan base, think of all those things, right? Money generation, all that stuff, man. He will be a gold mine land for somebody, and it'll probably be later than what they were expecting. And one of those deals, right? Like, where was Finley going last year? Third round, different stuff like that. I mean, if you can get somebody like that there, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I think once you get past those first couple quarterbacks, there's going to be teams in that 10 to 20 range that need quarterbacks that are going to be looking at the board thinking, yeah, and I would not be surprised to see him go in the first round. I think realistically, probably second round's better, but yeah, you can't deny what he brings and how electric he is. So
and he's Dwight, real quick, I'm sorry because I'm not letting these people off the hook that easy. It's so funny how people's tune changes on Lamar Jackson because if we can just pull the Twitter receipts, I mean, it really makes me mad because now he's not just a running quarterback. He's developed as a passer. Like, go figure, an NFL rookie who was thrown in midway through the season, didn't look. People get better. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, Jalen Hurts is going to put in the work to become a better thrower, to become a better quarterback. Like, it's crazy to me how the whole Lamar Jackson tune has changed because he had an off season and he worked his tail off and he got better. It blows my mind. So even if Jalen Hurts comes in and he's not going to be the quarterback day one that he's going to be in year 3 or 4 or 5. Like, get real, people.
Oh yeah. There were so many people so down on Lamar when he came out, and he was a pretty darn good passer in college. So yeah, it's crazy, man. We could go round and round. We could do a whole show on just Jalen Hurts, I feel like. So all right, we're going to progress to the game of the week. I'll let you start, Matt, even though this is kind of down south. I'll get your take on what you're looking for most in this game. I got number 8, Georgia, going down to the swamp, taking on number 6, Florida. This is a massive, massive game every year. So what are you looking for most in this game, Matt?
Number 7 on Georgia, and just continue to watch him be the stud that he is and the guy that we all love. I haven't watched a whole lot of Florida outside of a couple early season games. From what I'm reading and seeing, that cornerback's been a little bit underwhelming, maybe more like the Del Pitt style, where not delivering as much as he should. But my eyes are fixed on number 7 in red. I just love that guy, man. So I don't know, just watch some of those offensive players. Pickens, want to see what he's got going on. Fromm doesn't really intrigue me all that much, but it's that running game of Georgia.
Right, Ray.
Yeah, same thing. I'm excited to see DeAndre Swift continue to assert his claim on the RB1 title for the 2020 class. I think Jonathan Taylor has looked very human over the past 4 weeks. He's been a superhuman, up until that point. But DeAndre Swift when you look at his numbers, he's been consistent all season. He's just so good. Swift is such a good running back, so I'm excited to continue to watch him play. And then on the other side of the ball, Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida, he looks like a future first-round NFL draft pick at 6'6". I think it's 245, 250 pounds. Wide receiver / tight end. He just looks like a stud. So to watch him continue to play, and then some of those defensive back matchups, I want to see those wide receivers from Georgia, George Pickens, the true freshman who looks like AJ Green. I want to see him play. James Cook, Zamir White. So it should be a fun game. Hopefully Jake Fromm looks better. I'm not the biggest Jake Fromm guy, but you want those quarterbacks, especially in super flex leagues. So hopefully he can get back on track. And the more I'm really starting to think he's one of the guys that may return for his senior year. We'll see.
Right. I think that too. And this game could be a huge like it's a chance for him to really tell the NFL he's ready or he's not. This is a pretty damn good defense in Florida, so should be a lot of fun. This game has such a nasty rivalry. These teams hate each other. It should be a really fun game to watch. This one's for our past co-host Mandrew. We'll be watching this game for you, bud. So, all right, Matt, you want to take us out west this week? We're going to kind of run through the recaps fairly quick this week. It's kind of a down week. There's not a lot of huge games this week. So, Matt, what's your game of the week out west, man?
I'm going with Utah heading up to Washington. Washington offense has been really good. Utah's defense has been probably even better, but it's, this is for the Dwights of the world right here. Utah's quietly crept themselves up to number 9 in the country. And I think last week I said Oregon was the only real team that from the West that had a chance to make the playoff. I might have been wrong in that. So I don't know, man. Utah has a lot of studs. That defense side of the ball is just really fun to watch. Some horses. I even had a conversation with a guy the other day who coaches rugby, who coached, the defensive tackle, one of the Polynesian cats. I won't remember his name. I couldn't pronounce it anyways. But it's just cool, man, to see how they've done, what they've done. So seeing Eason, obviously Eason's been a hot name. So how he can perform against that Utah defense is really the kind of the key to the game for me. But there's Salvan Ahmed. There's, a handful of receivers up in Washington and Fuller and, Bryant, the tight end. So really that Washington offense versus the Utah defense is it's not even the game of the week. That's kind of like the matchup of the week. It's the offensive side of the ball against the defensive side of the ball, Utah.
Right. Fotu, I think. Leaky Fotu. I think.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, anyways. Sorry. And then that leads to your Devy prospect of the week. This dude had a game last week. A game.
Yeah, man. And so CJ Verdell, he's not an unknown name. He's actually kind of been like the Twitter hotness. It's just interesting, man. Like, I don't even think he started 2 weeks ago. So it's just a crazy deal that he was able to go. What do he have, like 200 something yards on 27 carries the other day? Just nuts. And what I found, kind of digging a little bit, but nothing dramatic here. But over the last 2 years, last year's a freshman, this year's a sophomore, averaging just shy of 6 yards over the past 2 seasons, which is really impressive for a younger back. Ray made the comp, not the comp, but the body size comp. He's like the exact same size as DeAndre Swift on the DDP. He was talking about this the other day. And, CG Verdell, it seems to be kind of put in that category as an undersized back. But like Ray said, they're like the same size, man. So got to give him a little bit of you can't, discredit him right there. But just getting after it, 112 carries, 753 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's got a handful of receptions, or more than a handful of receptions, a couple TDs through the air. Kids look great, man, on that good offense. And, Breland went out. We talked about that. So he's just – he was highlighted last week, and he ran his butt off. So he's one to monitor looking forward. Not eligible till the 2021 class, I believe. But man, he's been playing hard and good. And hey, I love to see a good running back in that green and yellow up there.
Right, that was one because of my schedule. I was able to watch almost that entire game against Washington State, and he looks just amazing. The holes he finds and how slippery he is, and he's so elusive. Just a ton of fun to watch him. He was getting 15 and 20 yards every time he touched the ball, it seemed like, and he's one that could be used as that 3-down type of weapon. You'd like to see him add maybe a little bit more size, but yeah, just love a lot about him. Have you got a chance to watch much of Verdell there, Ray? Or
I have, and I'm a fan. He's really explosive too. He's real. Once he hits the hole, he's bursty, he's explosive, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. And Oregon has had a good track record of producing NFL caliber running backs. Now, what they do at the next level, that's sort of up to them. You've got LaMichael James and Royce Freeman, and even before that, there was another guy. He's slipping my mind, but they put out quality running backs at the next level. So I like Verdell, and I mean, he's built. He's the exact same size as DeAndre Swift, and I don't know if it's because they wear that number 7, but they really resemble their games. Really kind of resemble one another, and for him to break off that 89-yard run, that shows that he does have that long speed. That he didn't get Leonard Fournette walked from behind. Jesus, Leonard Fournette score, dude, or stop. I tweeted at him and told him, like, while I appreciate you ripping off 90-yard runs, can you just scoot up a little bit so you can get in the end zone? But Verdell didn't get caught, so that shows he's got that long speed. I like him.
What's interesting, too, with Verdell was last year he was known for that critical fumble he had. I don't know if you guys remember that. He had fumbled at the very end of the game, cost him the game, and that was like – that's the image I have of him. And now I'm seeing him, like you said, busting off 90-yard runs. I'm like, oh, yeah, that kid who fumbled in a critical situation. I remember he was devastated. You know how that goes when you let your whole team down. But, no, that's just how I keep thinking of him that way. But he's really grown, and he's getting better. And what do we want to see from a freshman running back to a sophomore running back? Do you want to see obviously, okay, you want to see like an All-American whatever. But you're seeing progression and people growing. We were just talking about this with Lamar Jackson and everything else. Okay, sign me up for the kid who's continually, he's working because he's getting better. So I like it.
Right. Gotta love that, man. All right. Going in your backyard for the freshman of the week. I like this.
Keeping it home, man. So, okay, cool deal. Cropper was Jalen Cropper. And I did this last week. I don't know if you guys caught this when I was talking about Keenan Kristen. I didn't even mention his name till the very end of the segment. So Jalen Cropper, he's listed as a receiver for Fresno State. But he was a high school teammate of Kendall Milton last year. Nasty. they had so many ballers on that team. So they had a tight end going to Stanford, Cropper, who went to Fresno State to stay home, even though he had offers all over the country and as an athlete. And then Kendall Milton obviously going to Georgia. That was a lot of fun to watch that offense play last year. And Cropper, you think with a guy like Milton that Cropper would just be like a secondary kind of deal, backup, whatever. He was involved in all kinds of stuff. They lined him up a wildcat. He played quarterback. He's playing running back, receiver, kick returner, all this stuff. And he was a fantastic athlete. He's over at Fresno State now. He wanted to stay home. And it's impressive is he hasn't been getting a ton of volume. He's a young kid, right? And he's not real great size. He's got good height. He's like 5'11", but he's lightweight. On ESPN, they call him at 155. I think he's bigger than that. But on the year, he's got 9 carries, $157 for only 17.5 yards a carry. He's a burner. He's fast. I know Ray likes some speed. He's got a handful of receptions. I take that back. On the ground, 14 rushes for 265, 18.9 yards a carry. He's just, ridiculous, right? He's almost averaging 20 yards a carry. The kid's fast. He's got a very, very bright future. You can call him the deep dive of the week, call him the freshman of the week. I really like him. I've watched him play a lot. I watched him play a lot of high school football. He is a good kind of hometown kid. He wanted to stay home. I don't know. I just like him all the way around, and he's got wheels. So Fresno State will continue to put up yards and points, and they're having a down year. But I look for him to progress, just like we were talking about with C.J. Verdell.
All right, I love it. I love it when you can find that guy that you've watched in high school, and and you've watched him. It's one of the things I love even more about Devy. So, is there any other intriguing games you really want to see this week, Matt?
Yeah, man, you probably got these guys getting sick of listening to me talk about USC every week. It is it's a good game. Yeah, see, I got one of two. Oregon is going to SC. Yeah, so number 7 Oregon is going to SC. I had a double take on that. Gotta love football in the Coliseum, man. So I've said I love Autzen because that's just a good atmosphere. With the Coliseum, just the history, everything else. SC has continued to fight in games and make themselves, contenders, and they pulled one out last week against Colorado and just up and down, but they will compete in this game. I think we talked about when they played Notre Dame. They should have been blown out by Notre Dame, but they lost by two or three. They're going to be competitive games. This is a, in division or in conference game. A lot of players to like in this game. So this will be a good one, man. I can go on with the Herberts and the Verdells and the Slovis and the Christens and everybody else, but just good football, good athletes, a ton of receivers on the SC side. Dropping the air raid episode on DDP the other day, but man, talking about, the Michael Pittmans and Tyler Vaughns and all these, there's a lot of talent. There's going to end up on NFL rosters. So pay attention to these kind of guys who aren't. You're not going to get in the first. You don't have to get in the first round of your rookie drafts, but you're going to be able to get like those guys in the third round potentially, and they're going to end up on a team where you never know what's going to turn up. So this is one of those games where there's some deeper guys that you got to pay attention to because they could make a difference at some point in time.
Oh yeah, that should definitely be a fun game, man. Fun. All right, Ray, you ready to take us? Ray, I almost wanted to claim this one as my North game too, but I know Memphis isn't in the North. You've told me before. All right, what's your game of the week, Ray?
Game of the week. Good to see SMU getting some ABC love. So SMU versus Memphis. That's my Dirty South game of the week. SMU, they've got two wide receivers that are very talented, and SMU has a good history of producing talented NFL wide receivers. Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley, Cortland Sutton, and they've got James Prochet and Reggie Robertson Jr. Both of these guys are 6 foot. Prochet's 193, 195. Reggie Robertson Jr. is 6 foot 200, but both of them are putting up ridiculous stats this year. On the season, Roberson's got 43 catches, 803 yards, and 6 TDs. He's kind of like the big play, deep threat, averaging almost 19 yards a catch. And then James Prochet, 61 receptions, so more of that security blanket, 692, 9 TDs, averaging 11.3 yards a catch. I'm not saying that both of these guys are going to become viable fantasy relevant guys early on, but they are two players who will probably get drafted. James Prochet is a senior and Robertson is a junior. So it'd be good to see both of those guys declare. They'll get picked up. And, man, you see in fantasy football, these wide receivers are valuable. These wide receivers, when they get a chance to play, you don't know what's going to happen. So Shane Buechele, the University of Texas transfer, has done an excellent job in that offense, distributing. Forward to watching that from the SMU side. And then when we go over to Memphis, they've got a running back, and we talked about him on this show last week. I talked about him on the DEP, but Kenneth Gainwell, this kid, redshirt freshman, is absolutely dynamic. He's had 6 straight 100-yard rushing games. He had a 200-yard game in there, and last week versus Tulsa, he had 153. I mean, this kid can do it on the ground. He's got 34 receptions on the season, 440 yards, and 3 touchdowns through the air. Just another one of those kind of dual threat. When you start looking at this potential 2021, 2022 class, and there's some of these running backs coming out of nowhere. And if Gainwell stays in for 2022, one of the things that I appreciate about Dwight, Matt, and myself is we've got no problem saying, I haven't seen this player. I haven't evaluated them, haven't scouted them, don't know much. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter post their Devy rankings for 2022 running backs, and it looks like they just went to 24/7 Sports and said John Emery, Trey Sanders, Zach Charbonnet, Jarian Ely. And I'm like, no. I mean, no, not based off of the play. So I think when you're starting to look at some of these running backs, Elijah Collins has kind of fizzled out a little bit, but he still looks fantastic for Michigan State. I'm a believer of his talent. Breece Hall, I know Dwight has talked about him quite a bit on this show. So I think Kenneth Gainwell is gaining steam, no pun intended, and I'm excited to see him on a national stage. And I'm telling you now, he should have a 200-yard game because SMU's defense is not good. So he should be able to do whatever he wants in that contest.
Right. For me, if you told me I could only watch one game this weekend, it would be this one. Like, I am super, super excited. The over-under is 72 on it. SMU is 8-0. Memphis is 7-1. It's got the ABC primetime Saturday night slot. I am just, if there was one game I could watch this weekend, it's this. The teams you don't talk about every freaking week, like the SECs and the Big Tens and stuff. So this is a good game. I really, really want to watch this game. So, all right, you got who's your Devy prospect of the week? I've heard you mention his name before, and I like it, man. I like it a lot.
Yeah. University of Houston wide receiver Marquez Stevenson, 6 foot, 190 pounds. He's a big play threat. This guy can flat out freaking fly. On the season, he's got 656 yards on only 34 receptions, 6 touchdowns, and last week he went absolutely ballistic with 211 yards on 5 catches and 2 touchdowns. He had a 96-yard touchdown in that game. This kid is I've caught myself from using the word elite, elite speed, elite vision, elite agility. Marquez Stevenson has elite speed. I mean, he's one of the fastest players at the wide receiver position in college football. And anytime you can rip off 100-yard touchdown runs and not be caught from behind, not get tired, that just shows the burst that he has. He's somebody that I can truly see rising up NFL draft boards during the pre-draft process because he is, a very good-looking receiver. I wouldn't call him a complete receiver at this point in time in his career, but he's a good-looking receiver with that God-given speed and some of those physical abilities, those tools. I like Marquez Stevenson out of Houston.
I think what's been most impressive about him is that he kept rolling. When they sat De'Aaron King, and the wheels could have just fell off this team. But Stevenson's just kept right on balling, which is it's impressive with the backup quarterback and stuff. So, all right, Ray, who's your freshman of the week?
Freshman of the week is a guy that really stood out in the game versus LSU last week, and it's Auburn freshman running back DJ Williams. 5'10", 216 pounds. He looks like he's bigger than that. I think he's closer to 220. The kid is thick. But in that game versus that LSU defense, he had 130 rushing yards, and he was not, the projected starter. It was Boobie Whitlow, and then he went out with, I believe, a knee injury, and he was back in the LSU game, but he played limited snaps. But DJ Williams, man, he came out of, and I won't say he came out of nowhere because he was a 4-star prospect coming out of high school. I believe he was ranked one slot higher than Brees Hall, or he was one lower. They were back to back in 2019 running back rankings. But this kid, man, he's physical, and already as a true freshman to be 220 pounds and look the way he does. And what was really impressive about him is in doing research, he was an early enrollee. So he was there in January. So he's learned the system. He came into the season knowing that he shouldn't have been the starter, but when his number was called, I mean, he really helped that team stay in that game because LSU could not stop him. I mean, he looked really good, and he did that on, I believe, 12 or 13 carries. So DJ Williams is somebody that I would like to continue to see that momentum build for him. And again, when you're talking about 2022 running backs, I mean, he's another one of those guys that, most people don't have him in their top 5. That if he continues to play the way he did last week, he should rise up everybody's running back rankings for that 2022 class.
All right, good call, man. I think it was 13 because he was like exactly 10 yards a carry, if I remember right.
Okay.
All right, so who's your deep dive?
So I'm all off script tonight, so I don't have a collegiate deep dive prospect, but there's a guy living out here in Texas that everybody is like freaking out about.
He's so good that we lost him.
He's got audacity. Let him keep going. That's good. It's one good thing, too. If he just keeps talking, it won't matter. He said Bijan Robinson, and it summoned the voodoo daddy. Dang.
Did you log him out?
I was gonna kick him and push him back in, but then he went away. So. Sorry, I like Audacity for that.
Right.
Like he can just keep talking and it will be totally seamless. You got any hunting trips coming up, or
just duck hunting? Actually, I might go hunting on Sunday, like a little day trip for bear up here in the Sierras. But
nice.
I don't have any good deer tags left, and duck hunting has started. But anyway, so nothing. There he is.
Back.
Did you finish your rant on Bijan?
No, I did not finish it, so I have to start over.
Okay.
But Audacity is still rolling, so.
Right. All right, Ray. Who's your deep dive?
All right, I cheated on this one because I don't have a collegiate deep dive prospect, but living out here in Texas, B. John Robinson is somebody that everybody was freaking out about because Ohio State apparently had the 411 on this kid, and everybody thought that he was going to commit there, but he committed to the University of Texas. This dude, 64 carries on the season, 64 for 1,437 yards, 27 TDs, and he's averaging 23 yards per rushing attempt. I mean,
That's Matt Griffith numbers right there.
That's Beltron numbers. I legit thought it was a typo. I was like, "There's no way."
Unreal.
I'm just gonna repeat it one more time. 64 carries, so that's like Chuba Hubbard's 2-game carry total right there, or six quarter carry total for 1,437 yards, 27 TDs, averaging 23 yards per rush. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's the number 16th ranked prospect in the class. 24/7 Sports comps him to David Johnson. I mean, this kid is ridiculous, man. He's the number 2 running back in the class. He's good. I just had to bring him up. We're talking about deep dive. I mean, that's pretty deep, but he's good. The kid is good too. He's really good.
I didn't know we could go high school. Okay, we can go high school. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I don't know what's scary. What's scarier, those numbers or the fact that he's 16th in the class?
Yeah, right.
Right. Like, what's better than that? Good Lord.
A guy from North Shore who's really good. Zach Evans. That's who's better.
All right. What other games you want to catch this weekend, man?
Real quick, TCU, Oregon State. Want to see Jalen Reagor, Chuba Hubbard, Tylan Wallace. Miami versus Florida State. I'd like to see DJ Dallas and watch him a little bit more, as well as who, Mr. Cam Akers, Tamarion Terry. And then Vanderbilt versus South Carolina, Keyshawn Vaughn. And then South Carolina, they've got a D tackle that everyone's been talking about, so I kind of want to watch him versus Keyshawn Vaughn. I can't think of his name.
You know who it is. I just had his name up too.
Yeah, I want to watch that D tackle. I want to watch Brian Edwards, who Jesse Reeves really told me that I was far too low on in my 2020 rankings. So I think I need to watch a little more Brian Edwards. And they've also got a tight end at South Carolina, number 9. I believe his name is Nick Muse, and he looks really good as well. So excited to watch those games. We'll watch those games in the scouting process. I'm not going to watch them live because I'm watching SMU Memphis.
Right. Wicked. Love it, man.
All right, Dwight. Heading up north, man. What's the game of the week?
The game of the week, man. It's snowing here already. Come on, man. All right, if I had to pick one, it's probably Virginia Tech at Notre Dame. There's not a lot of really good pickings this week. Virginia Tech versus Notre Dame. I just want to see how Notre Dame bounces back. They looked absolutely horrendous the other day. I think this may be another one that's just a good game, but not a lot of Devy prospects. So I'll switch over to Michigan and Maryland as my other choice. That one does have a lot of Devy prospects. Should be a hard-fought game. I know Maryland's not going to – hopefully they're not going to roll over. They're a team that we thought at the beginning of the season would be fun, but they haven't been. They've been getting blown out lately. I'm curious to see if Michigan has a little bit of a letdown after that huge emotional win for them. So it's got a lot of talent on both sides of the ball with the wide receivers there with Peoples-Jones and Tariq Black. And then Maryland's got the running backs who I'm going to talk about here in a second. These are my Devy prospect of the week, actually. I'm going to kind of go a little bit quicker here. Javon Leake, the running back from Maryland. He's one of those guys that I tune in for Maryland games to watch Anthony McFarland. I'm not going to hide my love for him. But Javon Leake has looked pretty damn impressive as well. Every time I get on a Maryland game watching McFarland, Leake just keeps making plays. I didn't have his statistics pulled up here real quick. Let me get them really fast. Sorry, guys. Wasn't very well prepared for that. Well, he's a junior, and he's got 543 yards, averaging over 8 yards a carry, 7 touchdowns. He's also caught 10 balls. So just like every time I would be watching him, Maryland, it would be him making these huge plays, and then McFarland making, plays here and there as well. But they seem to really rely on Leake more. 6 foot, 220. He's really good size, very elusive running back, but just great breakaway speed. Another guy that I like a lot. So he's obviously not – I think it'd be pretty silly to come out this year. And obviously, obviously would serve him to wait until next year, but just a guy to watch. I wanted to highlight someone a little different this week, and so I really like Leak there quite a bit. So Maryland's a confusing team. They have a couple really good running backs, and you would think that they would do a lot more than what they're doing, but they're just getting offensively. They just look rough, man. It's like if they don't give the ball to McFarland or Leak, it's just they can't do anything. So I don't know if you guys have anything on him, or I don't know. Just
No, it's a great call, man. I haven't got to see very much Maryland stuff. To be honest, I've been kind of punting some of the other regions out to you guys. So what's neat about Maryland is like they're known for Diggs and DJ Moore. You know what I mean? And to see a handful of running backs now that are talented that we'll probably see getting shuffled out here in the next couple of drafts. That's what it's kind of fun to see that little change of events, I guess.
Right. Yeah, their running backs are just they're really good, and I don't know why they don't rely on them more and why it doesn't make their offense that much better. You would think it would be that much better, kind of like how the 49ers are running their offense right now, how they're just running through those running backs. You would think that they would be a better offense because there's McFarland, there's also Tavon Fleet Davis who's looked really good at times as well. So Leak actually has the best yards per carry and yards of all of those running backs, but all three of them bring different skill sets, and they're a lot of fun to watch. So my freshman of the week, I went a little bit deeper as well. Zay Flowers, wide receiver for Boston College. He's kind of different for Boston College to have a player like him. He's 5'11", 180. And just that versatile weapon that seems to be cropping up more and more in college football. He's so far on the year, he's 20 for 162 on the ground and 15 and 252 through the air. 3 touchdowns total, and they use him all over. They move him all over. He has this crazy feet, like the way he cuts and turns and breaks out of like when he stops and pivots. It's just amazing to watch how quick he goes. That's how he creates his separation. He's just elite footwork, and then he just takes off. He's a really quick guy. I'm curious to see how Boston College uses him, because that's definitely Boston College has always been kind of a more of an antiquated offense, I feel like, and it's nice to see like a versatile weapon like him there. So kind of went a little bit deeper to find a freshman this week. So I really like him quite a bit, and I'm 99% sure you guys have not even seen him or heard of him yet. So kind of a different guy that I kind of wanted to highlight there out in BC. So
that's cool. It's a great call.
Yeah, I didn't have anybody deep this week or any other intriguing games. It's a rough week up north, man. There's like I'm heading down to Memphis for the best game of the week. So I don't really have much up in Big Ten area I want to watch this weekend. So anything you guys wanted to add or?
No, sir.
Okay. Is Ray still with us? Want to make sure. Okay.
I'm here.
All right, guys.
The Nationals just hit a home run.
Did they? What is it, 2-2?
2-1.
Oh, okay. I want to see him at least make it a game. Is Greinke still in, or?
Yeah, Greinke and Soto right now.
I love Soto, man. That cat's amazing. Good. All right, guys. Okay, we're going to get on to the fun part of our episode. This episode will be airing on Halloween, so we're going to do a little bit of a Halloween special. Ironically, I came up with this idea, but I had the hardest time figuring out people for this. And Matt and Ray put their players on there within 10 minutes, I felt like. And I was like, I don't know who to put on here. So we got some Devy prospects. Which Devy prospect would you compare to each of these famous monsters? First, we'll go with Frankenstein. This is someone who's big, strong, and seems to have been created in a lab. Matt, I'll go with you first on this one, man. Who's your comparison to Frankenstein?
Well, I'm going to let you take the money shot there, but anytime you get a running back that's 6'2", 220 pounds, 5-star guy, hurdling guys, running around guys, juking dudes out, kicking on burners, all the things that when you do we're getting back to the NCAA 14 and you're creating your player and everything else. Najee Harris is a kind of a freak athlete. Like, he's not supposed to be doing some of the things he's doing. He's what you'd imagine a 5'11", 190-pound back doing. And then also it's like if AJ Dillon met Max Borghi or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. So Najee is a Frankenstein of the backfield. and you love it, man. He's a stud.
All right, Ray, who you got, man?
Yeah, when you think of Frankenstein, right? Like this big, just bigger than life character, scary looking guy. Just when he's coming at you, you're terrified. And that's how I feel about Liberty's wide receiver Antonio Gandy Golden, 6'4", 220 pounds. And then I venture to say he's got a 40-inch vertical leap because the way he just jumps over those defensive backs, it looks unfair. He just looks scary out there. I don't know what cornerbacks, most corners are 5'10", 5'11". What are you going to do when that's running full speed at you? And he's actually really good after the catch as well. He's not just some go downfield and throw it up jump ball receiver. That dude can make plays after the catch. So my Devy Frankenstein prospect is AGG. That guy, man, scary.
I like it, man. And I'll give an honorable mention to Matt because Matt put this on his too. But my comp has got to be Chase Young, man. The dude looks like the Predator with the long dreads out the back. And he just looks like he was pieced together in a lab because he's got like this just normal torso and he's just gigantic arms and huge legs. And he doesn't look like he belongs together. And he's like 6'5", 270. But I mean, if he's got 2% body fat, I would be shocked. The dude is just crazy huge. He just looks like the freakish monster. And if I have to go somebody offensively, I would go Laviska Shenault, I think, because he's just, I mean, I know he hasn't been on the field a whole lot, but when he is on the field, he looks like he's just a freak. Like he does the way he moves and the way he breaks tackle and his physicality and his speed and his route and just everything is just a rare combination that he has of putting it all together like he is several wide receivers. So that was kind of, but for me, it's obviously Chase Young. But all right, next famous monster we got is Dracula. He sucks the will out of his opponents. Ray, who do you got for Dracula, man?
Yeah, Dracula. I've got J.K. Dobbins, the running back out of Ohio State, and I'm just so happy because this kid looks like a better version of his freshman self this year. And at 5'10", they've got him listed at 218. He's probably 220 pounds. He's that shorter, compact style running back, but this kid is physical. Contact balance is ridiculous, and they just feed him the ball. He's averaging 7.2 yards a carry on the season. He's caught the ball 13 times out of the backfield. It's just like what I'm trying to stop Justin Fields. Please hand it to J.K. Dobbins, and then you hand it to J.K. Dobbins, and there was a stiff arm in the Wisconsin game. I just posted it on Twitter a few minutes ago where he just smashed this dude's head and threw him into the dirt. He's doing whatever he wants to do. In 8 games, he's got 6 games, over 100 rushing yards. J.K. Dobbins is just a freaking monster this year. So I'm excited about him. He is my Dracula Devy prospect.
I like it. All right, Matt, who you got, bud?
All right, so when I think of Dracula, I think of a pale skin, not that intimidating. I'm trying to keep a straight face. Dracula is never that intimidating to look at, but then when he goes to do his business, like he's always like one of the baddest dudes in the bad guy movies. And Joe Burrow, man, down there in LSU, he's not intimidating to look at. He's not Justin Fields. He's not Tua. But man, when you turn the lights on, or off in this circumstance with Dracula side, but then he just does his thing, dude. So what do we just see here? Another home run? Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, a little kind of squirrel moment there.
Brought in the reliever's second pitch. Oof. Ouch.
So Joe Burrow, he's the Dracula, and to follow up with your little, what you put in parentheses there, sucking the blood out of its opponent. Joe Burrow's been doing just that all year long. So big, pale, white guy who's unintimidating, who's just been draining, man.
That's a good one, man. That's a really good one.
The Nationals just sucked the blood out of Ray. So
yeah, man, sucked it dry.
All right. Mine's kind of, I struggled with this one, but mine is until somebody proves otherwise, it's Trevor Lawrence. I know he's had a rough season, or not a rough season, a down season-ish. But I have a feeling that when it comes time for the playoffs, when it comes time for that, the championship game, the conference championship, and when it gets to that college playoff, if Clemson's in it, Trevor Lawrence is going to be there and he's going to do it. So I think until somebody proves it otherwise, you see that swagger in him that I think maybe he needs that stage to get it back because he hasn't been playing to that level that we saw last year. But I'm still going to say it's Trevor Lawrence, and maybe it's just a homer or not a homer, but just wanting to believe in the kid because I just have a huge belief in him, and I hope that he is, this great quarterback that we really, the NFL could really use, and just a good kid too. So definitely another one that looks kind of doofy and plain and simple, and then get him under the helmet and sucks the will out of his opponents. So. All right, our next one, the werewolf. He turns into a beast on the game day. He's very fast, very strong. Ray, I'm not surprised. Ray, you want to lead us off on this one?
Yeah, let me throw some coal in the engine and fire up this train because it's Chuba, baby. Chuba train. Chuba. Choo-choo. Fast. Strong. I mean, what's the a werewolf turns into a beast on game day, and that's the Canadian himself, Chuba Hubbard. I mean, what's more to say? When he gets the ball, it's crazy because it can be like 2-yard gain, 2-yard gain, 3-yard gain, 2-yard gain, 78-yard touchdown. I mean, just in the blink of an eye, and you're like, I thought I had him, but he just transforms into that werewolf, and then he's gone in the end zone, howling to the moon because he's just that freaking good. He's 6'1", 210 pounds, and that kid is fast. The Chuba train, werewolf, baby.
Right. I love it, man.
Canada's full of wolves too, so that makes sense. All right, I'm going.
Canada. That's crazy. Chuba's Canadian, really? Nice.
Yeah. Like so I'm going with kind of the same thing, an unsuspecting guy who we've talked about today, who kind of gets overlooked all the time. But when the game film is on, he is out there just beasting. And there is this filthy, filthy catch from last week. You can go back and look. But Brian Edwards, wide receiver at South Carolina, he's also a great size too. So he's not he's got that big werewolf style body anyways. But man, got speed, got size, got the ability, got hands, and I feel like he's kind of on a different little wavelength in between the hashes. So Brian Edwards is my werewolf of the 2019 football season so far.
Right. I like it, man. Like it. I struggled with this one obviously as well. I went Jonathan Taylor because you hear a lot about, I know he's had a couple down games, but you hear a lot about how he is off the field, how he's very articulate, very soft-spoken. He's not you don't really think much of him, then he hits that field. He's just got that rare combination of speed at his size and how strong he is. Although the last couple games he hasn't looked that strong, but I still think it's there, and he's obviously going to be a very high draft pick. But I love, when you hear about how he is off the field, then how he turns once he gets on that, in between the stripes. So yeah, I love it. So I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor on that one. I flip back and forth between a couple on that one. So yeah, but I'll go with Jonathan Taylor. And our last one is Freddy Krueger. Well, what I meant by that was someone who haunts their opponent dreams. Matt, I like it. I didn't think you changed it, man.
Well, I was struggling at first, man, but who is more Freddy Krueger than the king of Alabama himself, man, Nick Saban. And really, it's not even Nick Saban, but it's Nick Saban and his gang. So I feel like it's like a Freddy Krueger got a crew. Nick Saban, he's got to hunt everyone else in the SEC. He hunts everyone in NCAA. He even hunts NFL coaches, man, because they probably think that he's chipping at their heels and could take their job if he really wanted it to. But it's a combination of Saban, Tua, Judy, Ruggs, Najee, Waddle, Smith, Robinson, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just on the offensive side of the ball. So, man, Nick Saban, he's obviously an icon, but he is 100% hunting his opponents, and he has been for decades now.
Yeah. Oh, man. After seeing that, I don't think anybody could pick anything better than that.
That was gold, man.
Yeah, I like it. If it's not those players, it's the fact that he's been in the title game like 9 years in a row or some crap. Like, That's nuts, man. Ray, you want to follow that up, man?
Not really, but I guess I can kind of piggyback off of that because I'm taking a former Alabama player in Jalen Hurts, and I think what he does, the stress that he puts on, defenses in college, even though they lost versus Kansas State last week. I mean, he had still close to 500 total yards of offense. It's all right. We're going to shut down Jalen. We're not going to let him run. Then he dices you over the top, throwing the ball to those CeeDee Lamb and Charleston Rambo. All right, we're going to play back and take away the pass. And, he'll just rush for 100 yards on you. And what's crazy is I went and looked at his career stats. So right now for his career in passing yards, he's at 8,095 passing yards, 69 touchdowns, only 15 interceptions. But then he's got 2,777 rushing yards, 36 TDs. I mean, I'd be interested to see where he kind of, finishes up, career wise amongst the great dual threat quarterbacks, because he's just been a model of consistency. And I think that his skill set translates to today's NFL very, very well. Maybe not last year's NFL or the year before, but I think what he can do will put stress and haunt, in your dreams, haunt those. I'm telling you right now, you think Bill Belichick's not concerned about Lamar Jackson facing him this Sunday and what he can do on the ground and through the air, and sort of the kryptonite of those kind of coaches. When you even think about Nick Saban, what was his kryptonite all those years? It was mobile quarterbacks. Johnny Manziel, they couldn't do anything with Johnny football. I mean, mobile quarterbacks who can move around in the pocket, like they hurt Nick Saban. And Kyler Murray did the same thing. So I think quarterbacks like this are the new wave. So Jalen Hurts haunting people in their dreams.
Right. I like it. Once again, maybe I should have picked people that are actually playing right now, but and doing well right now. But I think Rondale Moore is like the haunts the biggest opponent's dreams, because he just can't scheme for this kid. He does just about everything great, and I can't wait. Do you guys is he out for the year or?
Yeah.
Dang it! I thought I heard that the other day, and I'm like, I didn't think he was out that long. So
I think they shut him down for this season.
Darn it, that stinks. Maybe I should pick a different one. Anyways, I can't top Nick Saban, so
I got an honorable mention though, if we can throw it in.
Okay.
Gary Patterson haunts my dreams, man. he continues to not utilize Rager, and I don't want to just drive Ray up the wall, but man, Gary Patterson Patterson's a nightmare, so I'm gonna leave it at that.
Here we go. Now the show's going another 10 minutes. Here goes Ray.
It's egregious, man. You brought it up. You brought this on yourself. But what's happening in Fort Worth, a few miles from my house, that's a fireable offense. It's a fireable offense, what they're doing with Jalen Rager.
We're over 2 hours. We got to cut this off. All right, guys. We did have one. We have one question. And ironically, his name was from Frankenmime. So he asked, is Jordan Love going to be a top 5 quarterback in 2020, legit starter or a backup? Ray, you want to take this puppy?
I prematurely touted Jordan Love as the quarterback 2 in the class, like early this season, like after like one series. I was like, I told you he's quarterback 2. I don't know. Maybe. I don't think so. I think if he is, he's 5th or he's right outside of that top 5. I think he's a developmental guy. I do think he has all the skills. He has all the arm talent, but decision-making and, his receivers have not done him any favors at Utah State this year. But I wouldn't take him over Eason. I wouldn't take him over Herbert. I wouldn't take him over Burrow, Tua, or Jalen Hurts. So right now he's right outside of my top 5 for me.
Right. I think it's just going to take the right system. Somebody who's going to let him sit and grow, and not expect him to be their franchise quarterback in 2020 or 2021. So, I think he's got legit starter potential, but it's going to take the right thing. So, you got anything, Matt?
Yeah, I'm totally with you there. You guys both kind of summarize it for me, but we see it less and less in this day, but if he could get a situation like a Brissett type path where he sits behind a couple guys for a few years, and Brissett's, road to starting was a little bit different because of Luck's retirement. But if he can do that, if he was, we're not thrown into it, I think he'd really benefit from sitting on the pine for 2 years, 3 years in the NFL. And he could be legit starting the NFL. but I would really, really be cautious of him starting week 1 of 2020. I just don't think it'd be good for him for anything. He'd probably be washed out of the league in a couple of years. So if he can get a spot where he can sit and learn behind, a veteran guy, whatever, man, that'd be so great for his growth, I think.
Right. I got to tell you guys this. I have a league called New Hollywood. Some guy just traded Julian Edelman for OBJ straight up. And they
wait a minute.
I mean, my chat room literally in the past 6 minutes has like 47 messages. Like, what the F happened? Like, he's like, well, I said he was on the block like an hour ago. Like, he just takes like the first order that, this league, man. Like sometimes. Oof. Edelman for
well, Hollywood's a crazy place, so I guess that makes sense.
I guess, man, this league, I tell you, man. All right, guys, we'll wrap this sucker up. Matt, can you tell everybody where they can find your work and where you find you on Twitter?
Man, y'all can find me in Fresno, California. No, I'm just kidding. Real fast, and I know you guys are following Dwight and Ray and their journeys and everything else that's going on. But, man, support these guys. There's so much good content coming from these fellas, a lot in the Devy community. I just appreciate these two guys in particular because I listen to some other shows. I read some other stuff where I see people claiming that they've called things or I never said that or this and that and everything else. And I know we've talked a bunch about you can't watch everything. You can't see everything. Even Ray just being humble enough to say, like, man, I was talking Jordan Love, top 2, whatever. Look, we're guys watching football like you guys are. We think that we are pretty good at this. We are not perfect, but I like that these two guys right here are humble. We're learning, and just a good group of folks. So, support these cats, man. But, yeah, you can find me on Twitter most days at Commish McGriff. Like I said, I've been getting tagged in a lot of stuff. I'll always give my opinion when I see those. I just updated my Devy rankings, and maybe this is a segue into kind of what I was just talking about on the Dynasty Happy Hour website. And there's some key names left off of there, and it's on purpose because I haven't got to watch them. So it's not that I think certain players aren't capable of being in the top 25 or top 30 or whatever. I haven't had enough film to watch to be able to give my true opinion as to where I think somebody's at in my ranking. So it was kind of funny. And at one point I yanked all the quarterbacks out of my rankings, and I'm like, I'm starting this one over because you can't just go like, Tua's top 10 has got to be there in single quarterback or whatever. It's maybe not. I don't know. We got to look at that. So I'm constantly checking myself. I feel like, it's a good thing to do. It's kind of teach yourself some lessons along the way. But please go check out my Devy rankings. Give me some feedback. I want to know where you think maybe we align, where you're different, what your opinion is on the guy. And just know that not everybody is in there intentfully right now because I want to do more homework before I place them ahead of somebody else. So, just updated that. But at Commish McGriff on Twitter. And, man, look forward to hearing from you folks.
Beautiful, man. Ray?
Yeah, I appreciate what Matt just said. I've gotten a couple of DMs and some people asking me why I have not posted more video threads like those prospect play things. And the reason why is before I do it, I legitimately go through and watch that game of that player. And there are people out there, and you know what? I don't care. Like, y'all know me. I'm not politically correct. I'm not PC. If anybody takes offense, oh well, then I'm talking to you. But there are people out there who just post every little thing that pops up, any highlight, and they claim they scouted the player. I'm not going to call BS, but I just don't have time to do that all day, every day. So the reason why you haven't seen a lot of prospect plays because I haven't had the time to scout the players. I just have not had the time to do it, and I'm not going to just cut up something and act like I've watched the guy when I haven't. So I'll get to it when I can get to it. Real life is more important than this hobby that we do. But if you're following me on Twitter, you know where I'm at RayGQ. I like to interact with folks. Got the Destination Devy Pod comes out every Monday. Make sure you're following that account as well. And then I write for DLF, and I need to update my Devy rankings over there as well. But like Matt said, there are a lot of players that I haven't scouted yet, and just don't have the time to do it right now. There's a lot going on just in life with work, with family, and I can't sit here and cut up film all day for a freaking hobby that us nerds play.
Right. And I do want to point this out. This is somebody, if you guys want to follow and you want to watch more tape, His name is Jesse Fritsch.
Yep.
He's at Fritz. I'll spell it out. It's FRITSCH Jesse, JESSE, at Fritz Jesse. He is awesome. He makes video cut-ups and does a lot of work for the draft. I watch a lot of his stuff that he does. He's a great guy. He's got a Patreon. I highly recommend supporting him if you do not, and follow him. Even just toss him a couple bucks because he just does it on the side. He does great prospect cut-ups. I relied on his stuff a lot last year in the off season. So just a good follow. You can find me on Twitter at FFPeoplesChamp. And I work at DLF. I just updated my Devy rankings at Devy Happy Hour as well. And you can find this podcast at Devy Happy Hour on Twitter, and email us at devyhappyhour@gmail.com. And I wish everybody a happy Halloween. Everybody take your kids out. Have fun, man. Everybody be safe. And we will talk to you guys next week. We got Alabama, LSU. That's all you got to say, baby. Next week. Woo!